Have you ever felt like a total failure because you don't fit into the system? Well, know that the man who killed God for science was considered a mediocre student and spent half his day throwing up. Today, we're revealing how Charles Darwin used his own weakness to hack biology, and why if you don't understand his golden rule right now, you'll be the next victim of the market's natural selection.
Here's the deal. Either you evolve or you become a fossil, and most of you are acting like an extinct dodo. Stay until the end because I'm going to show you the secret Darwin kept for 20 years that will give you the enabling power to dominate any environment before the algorithm discards you. If you think you know what success is, prepare for a reality check that will blow up your comfort zone. Look, Daniel, let's start with the basics. Charles Darwin was the master of a mindset for those who aren't in a hurry to be a failure. While kids today freak out if a post doesn't go viral in 10 minutes, this guy spent decades looking at bird beaks and turtle shells with a focus that borders on clinical obsession. He didn't have that daily motivation crap. He had iron discipline and a bizarre physical resilience because the man spent his days seasick on the HMS Beagle, barfing his soul out, but never letting go of his notebook. He's living proof that success doesn't come to the smartest in the class, since he was a pretty mediocre student, by the way, but to the one who can take the hits and keep observing.
Right, Karen. And the irony is he had a twisted spirituality, didn't he? The guy started out studying to be a clergyman and ended up killing the creator with a scientific pen stroke. Talk about self-knowledge to understand that his life mission was going to blow the minds of everyone he loved. Darwin was like Nokia. He saw the system was going to change and decided to create the new software before the market swallowed him whole. Only in his case, the market was human existence itself. If you want that much progress, stop reading gratitude posts and start reading something useful like Richard Dawkins' The Selfish Gene to understand that nature doesn't give a damn about your cheap optimism. It only cares if you're useful for the next step of evolution.
Exactly. And speaking of utility, Darwin's creativity wasn't pulling ideas out of thin air. It was connecting dots that no one wanted to see. He was the master of personal transformation, going from a rat-hunting playboy to the icon who gave a massive boost to modern science. He had a purpose so clear that not even Victorian society, which was more cancel-happy than Twitter on a political day, could stop him. If you want to apply this today, stop procrastinating with TV shows and visit the Natural History Museum in London, even if it's via Google Street View, to see the size of the hole this man dug in human ignorance.
The problem is today's youth thinks having personality means using AI filters, while Darwin spent years in silence and focus, cultivating a long-term mindset. He knew his legacy depended on total mental independence. It's like Amazon in the beginning, everyone laughing at Jeff Bezos selling books in a garage while he was already planning to dominate the world and space. Darwin didn't want to be famous, he wanted to be right, and that's the greatest victory anyone can have. The guy transformed his own suffering and doubts into an inexhaustible source of knowledge.
And let's not forget he was a strategist of his own chaos. He used his isolation for an intellectual awakening that we can't achieve today, even if the Wi-Fi goes down for an hour. The man was an example of how resilience shapes character. But tell me one thing, Daniel. Do you think if Darwin saw people today arguing about flat Earth, would he have optimism, or would he ask natural selection to speed up and clean the gene pool already? Because his patience had limits, and mine is already opening a loop for the next topic, because we need to talk about how he convinced people without needing TikTok dances.
Karen, people think being a leader means being one of those stage coaches who shouts woohoo and claps. Darwin was the opposite, a master of silent leadership. The guy led a global revolution sitting in an armchair at Down House, sending letters. He had such sinister persuasion that instead of arguing on Twitter, he sent manuscripts that made other scientists question their own existence. He used active listening not with annoying people, but with damn nature itself. He heard what the finches were saying and translated it into an intellectual progress that left the Catholic Church more lost than a tourist without GPS.
Right, Daniel, and his secret was strategic collaboration. He wasn't a lone wolf. The man had an informant network bigger than the CIA. He practiced empathy in a bizarre way. He understood his opponent's side so well that he wrote his books answering criticisms before they even existed. That's high-level proactivity. It's like Coca-Cola. They don't wait for you to be thirsty. They flood the world with the brand until you think Santa Claus is red because of them. Darwin flooded academia with facts until there was no room left for religious guesswork.
Speaking of religion, here's the controversial debate the audience loves: faith versus science. Darwin set the playground on fire. On one side, the crowd that thinks we came from clay. On the other, Darwin's crew showing we're third cousins to a chimpanzee. Some people still don't accept that evolution is the greatest example of biological leveraging in history. What about you at home? Do you prefer to believe in intelligent design, or just admit your ancestor had a tail and liked bananas? Leave a comment if you're team creationism or team hardcore Darwinism. Just no crying.
Controversies aside, Darwin's negotiation with the society of the time was a work of art. He knew that if he dropped the bomb all at once, he'd be burned at the stake, metaphorically or not. So he waited, refined his communication, and used the enabling of other geniuses like Thomas Huxley, Darwin's bulldog, to bite for him. It's the pure promotion of intelligence over brute force. If you want to learn how to convince someone, stop watching 1-minute mental trigger tutorials and go read Darwin's correspondence. The man was an icon of scientific diplomacy.
Exactly. He turned science into a great long-term investment. Darwin didn't want immediate recognition. He wanted the success of his theory to be bulletproof. He had the personality of someone who knows they're right and can wait for the world to catch up. It's the same vibe as Tesla. Those guys have been laughing at the oil industry for years, waiting for the forced evolution to electric. Darwin gave the boost that humanity needed to stop looking at the sky and start looking at the ground, where the real story is written. And speaking of writing, his morals were a chapter on their own, right, Karen?
Daniel, we need to talk about this man's ethics. Imagine the weight. Darwin was married to Emma, a deeply religious woman he truly loved, and he knew his research would basically say her faith was a fairy tale. Is that having a character of steel or being a complete sadist? He kept the book in a drawer for 20 years. It wasn't out of fear of influencer cancellation. It was out of an absurd moral responsibility to the truth and the people around him. He had such intellectual transparency that he even documented the flaws in his own theory.
Exactly, Karen, and that's what's missing today: integrity. People distort facts to get clicks, while Darwin had a commitment to the justice of data. He knew that human progress depended on kicking the bucket of illusions. He was like Patagonia, a brand that would rather lose profit and be transparent about environmental impact than pretend everything is fine. Darwin didn't want to be an idea salesman. He was a servant of reality. He understood that honesty is the only investment that doesn't depreciate over time, even if the price is social isolation.
And the craziest part is that he didn't seek personal victory over Alfred Wallace when he saw the guy had come up with the same idea. He was ethical enough to do a joint presentation. Today, if someone breathes your idea, you already sue them or do an exposed on your stories. Darwin had a high-level personality. He knew science is a collaboration effort, not an ego race. He gave humanity the permission to grow up and face the fact that we aren't the center of the universe, and that requires a very strong scientific spirituality.
It's the famous do what is right, not what is easy. His moral discipline was as rigid as his scientific one. He saw slavery, for example, and was outraged because his theory showed we are all one biological family. He used science to promote a social justice that the religion of the time often ignored. He's an example of how self-knowledge leads you to be a better person, not just a better professional. He transformed his pain and doubt into a purpose that transcended his own ego.
Ultimately, Darwin's morals were based on evidence. He didn't accept "because I said so." He wanted the provision of proof. And that leads us to think, Do you have the courage to be upright when your truth goes against your entire social circle? Or are you one of those who changes opinion as the algorithm wind blows? The sustainability of a legacy depends on how much you can stand by your word. And speaking of standing, Darwin sustained bizarre productivity even while sick, which opens the perfect loop for our final topic on results.
Karen, look at the scale of this guy's success. Darwin didn't build a building, he built a new foundation for reality. His legacy is so insane that if you open any biology book today, his mark is there. He is the true icon of long-term productivity. While most of us are worried about having money next month, Darwin was investing in the next millennium. He created an intellectual prosperity that allows medicine and technology to exist as we know them. It is the ultimate recognition of someone who didn't look for shortcuts.
Exactly, Daniel. And the most incredible thing is the sustainability of the idea. A theory that survives 150 years of religious and scientific attacks is the definition of a crushing victory. Darwin is like Disney. He created a universe so solid and expansive that decades later we are still discovering new layers. He had the mindset of a knowledge millionaire, accumulating evidence until his source of data was unquestionable. He didn't just want a quick earning, he wanted a transformation that would be permanent for humanity.
And you know what's crazy? The independence he achieved. He didn't need approval. The multiplying of his results came from his ability to be an example of scientific rigor. The guy turned a simple boat trip into an investment that yielded the greatest income of knowledge in history. It is the ultimate recognition of someone who didn't look for shortcuts. It's the famous empowerment through truth. Darwin gave permission for science to be free. He was the boost we needed to escape intellectual darkness. Today, the leveraging that genetics gives us is a direct child of Darwinism. He showed that the promotion of life happens through adaptation, and if you don't adapt in your job or your studies, you become a fossil. It's a necessary awakening. Either you evolve your character and your skills, or the natural selection of the market will discard you without mercy.
Indeed, and this enabling for the future is what differentiates masters from amateurs. The boosting he gave to our curiosity is what will take us to Mars one day. Darwin didn't just seek personal success, he sought a purpose that gave meaning to biological life. He is proof that discipline breeds victory. Now that we've finished this journey through his pillars, I feel like we need to tell how it all started in a way that will leave everyone speechless. So, after this masterclass on the master of adaptation, how is your life looking? Are you the author of your own evolution, or just an extra watching history pass you by? The moral here is clear. Darwin didn't wait for perfect conditions. He created his own. Success amidst chaos and illness. What have you done to improve your character and results today? Or will you keep making excuses and procrastinating until the market makes you extinct?
Wake up! The world owes you nothing, and nature has no mercy for those who don't move. If you want to be an icon and not just another face in the crowd, apply this discipline now. Comment below, which city are you watching from, and what's the biggest mutation you need to make in your mindset today? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, because the next profile might be the slap in the face you need for your awakening. Oh, and if you want to take a piece of this history home, click the link in the first comment to check out the Darwin Lego and other treats.